The Nintendo Switch might not be the most powerful console out there, but when it comes to RPGs, today we're counting down 15 of the best. So let's get into it. Star Ocean: The Second Story R is a remake of a classic PS1 JRPG, and they genuinely knocked it out of the park with this one. The story kicks off in space. You're playing as a Federation officer who gets accidentally transported to a primitive planet called Expel. While he's trying to figure out how to get home, he bumps into a young healer named Rena, and things spiral into a full-on adventure to stop a looming catastrophe. Here's the cool part. You can actually start the game as either Claude or Rena, and your choice changes who you recruit, what scenes you see, and even how the ending plays out. The combat is real-time action, fast and snappy, and the new break system lets you stun enemies and then call in your benched party members for follow-up hits. The whole thing is wrapped in this gorgeous 2.5D art style, 3D environments with pixel characters running through them, and it looks stunning.
I managed to break.
Pokémon Legends Arceus. The story takes you back in time to the ancient Hisui region, way before Pokémon trainers and gyms even existed, where you join the Galaxy Expedition team, and your job is to build the very first Pokédex. Nobody trusts Pokémon here. People are scared of them. You're basically a researcher out in the wild, trying to document creatures that could seriously hurt you. The catching system changed everything. Instead of always battling first, you can sneak through tall grass, crouch behind rocks, and throw Pokeballs directly at wild Pokémon without fighting. But they'll also fight back if they spot you. In battle, there's now an agile style and strong style system. One lets your Pokémon move faster at the cost of power, the other hits harder but takes longer. Alphas are these massive, red-eyed, over-leveled Pokémon roaming the wild that will absolutely wreck you early game. Sea of Stars wears its influences proudly. Chrono Trigger, Super Mario RPG, but it's not just copying those games. It builds something that feels genuinely its own. The story follows Zale and Valir, two solstice warriors who harness the power of the sun and the moon to perform eclipse magic, the only thing capable of destroying the monsters created by an ancient, evil alchemist called the Fleshmancer. They're joined by their childhood friend Garl, the self-proclaimed warrior cook. And honestly, Garl ends up being the soul of the whole journey. The combat is turn-based, but with timed hits. Nail the timing on your attacks and blocks, and you deal more damage or take less. You can also break enemy spells by hitting them with specific elements before the cast goes off, which keeps battles from ever going on autopilot. Divinity Original Sin 2 Definitive Edition. You play as a sorcerer, someone who can manipulate a powerful energy called Source in a world where that ability has been outlawed. You start out captured, imprisoned on an island fortress called Fort Joy, and the goal is to escape. What happens from there is a massive, branching story set across multiple, huge regions, with every quest handcrafted and every NPC feeling like they have their own agenda. You pick from 6 origin characters, each with their own unique backstory and questline, or you create your own. The combat is turn-based and tactical. You can set oil on fire, freeze water to create ice floors, pick up barrels and hurl them at enemies, or chain elemental effects together for devastating combos. The game doesn't hold your hand. It throws you into situations where you might accidentally start a fight with someone important, or stumble into an area way above your level. Dragon's Dogma: Dark Arisen is one of those games that sounds generic on paper and then completely surprises you the moment you actually play it. A dragon attacks your fishing village, you try to fight it, it literally rips your heart out and eats it. You survive because you're the Arisen, a person destined to face the dragon, and now you're off across the open world of Grancis on a mission to get it back. The story isn't the focus here, the gameplay is. You pick from a vocation, fighter, mage, archer, strider, hybrid classes like Mystic Knight, and can switch between them freely as you level up, carrying skills across classes as you go. The signature feature is the pawn system. You create your own AI companion and then pull in 2 more from other players online, no subscription required, who bring their own knowledge of the world, monsters, and quests. Monster Hunter Rise is the series at its most mobile-friendly and mechanically fresh, and it was built specifically for the Switch. You're a hunter in the Japanese-inspired village of Kamura, and the whole village is bracing for something called the Rampage, a catastrophic event where monsters descend in massive waves to destroy everything. So you train, hunt, craft gear, and get stronger to prepare for it. The core loop is incredibly satisfying. Go on a hunt, fight a monster, carve its parts, use those parts to craft better weapons and armor, repeat with harder monsters. There are 14 weapon types, from dual blades to hunting horns to massive greatswords, and each one plays completely differently. The big new addition here is the wire bug, a little creature you carry that lets you zip through the air, climb walls, and add new, high-flying attacks to every weapon type. Kingdom Come: Deliverance is set in 1403 Bohemia, real medieval Europe, and you play as Henry, the son of a blacksmith. His village gets burned down, his parents are killed, and from that point on, it's a story of survival, vengeance, and figuring out where you fit in a world that has absolutely no reason to care about a peasant. The whole game runs on realism. You have to eat, sleep, and bathe regularly, because all three affect how NPCs react to you and how well you perform in combat. Skills level up through use. Want to get better at sword fighting? Fight. Want to get better at sneaking? Sneak. The combat is a directional dueling system where you chain attacks and counters based on angles, and it genuinely takes time to get good at. You can also talk your way out of situations, pick locks, brew potions at an alchemy table, or just sneak past everything. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Complete Edition. This is one of the most acclaimed RPGs ever made, and it's all here. The base game and both expansions, Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine, together making up well over 100 hours of content. You play as Geralt of Rivia, a witcher, a monster hunter for hire, in a dark, war-torn fantasy world inspired by Eastern European folklore. You're searching for your adopted daughter, Ciri, who's being hunted by a spectral force called the Wild Hunt. That main story is genuinely moving, but the side quests are what make Witcher 3 legendary. They're not fetch quests, they're full stories with their own characters, moral dilemmas, and multiple outcomes. The combat is real-time action, sword strikes, rolling, parrying, and a set of magic signs, like Igni for fire, or Irden for traps. You also brew potions and craft oils before missions, to give yourself an edge.
Gotta believe something. That's what keeps us going.
Final Fantasy X/10-2 HD Remaster. 2 legendary games in one package, and both hold up incredibly well. Final Fantasy X follows Tidus, a cheerful sports star from a futuristic city called Zanarkand, who gets pulled 1,000 years into the past, into a world called Spira. There, he joins a group of guardians protecting a summoner named Yuna on a pilgrimage to defeat a massive creature called Sin, which has been destroying civilization in endless cycles. It's an emotional story about sacrifice, cycles of suffering, and what it means to fight for a future you might not live to see. The sphere grid character progression lets you build characters along a path, and eventually branch out across the whole board. Final Fantasy X-2 then picks up 2 years later with a completely different tone. It's lighter, more action-oriented, and follows Yuna as she becomes a treasure-hunting sphere hunter while still dealing with the emotional aftermath of the first game. Dark Souls Remastered on Switch is genuinely impressive, and if you've never experienced From Software's punishing, brilliant action RPG, the Switch version is a solid way in. You're dropped into Lordran, a dark fantasy kingdom in a state of collapse. The Age of Fire is fading, undead are rising across the land, and you, an undead yourself, are prophesied to either link the first flame or usher in an age of darkness. The lore is deep, and mostly told through item descriptions and environmental storytelling rather than cutscenes. Nobody holds your hand. The combat is methodical. Read enemy patterns, time your dodge rolls, manage your stamina, and pick your battles. Every enemy can kill you. Every boss will kill you multiple times. When you die, you drop your souls at the spot you fell, and you have one chance to go collect them before you die again and lose them permanently. The Elder Scrolls V: Skyrim. You're the Dragonborn, a person with the innate ability to absorb the souls of dragons and learn their shouts, powerful magical abilities fueled by words of the dragon language. The main story has you chasing down a prophecy about the return of Alduin, the World Eater. But nobody really plays Skyrim for the main quest. You play it to join the Thieves Guild, to hunt down vampires with the Dawn Guard, to become a werewolf with the Companions, to craft enchanted gear, to build a house, to adopt kids, to spend 3 hours stealing cabbages just because you can. The game is pure freedom. You level up whatever you use, sneaking, archery, magic, smithing, and your character becomes a reflection of how you actually played. The Switch version includes all 3 DLC expansions and even has motion controls for archery and spellcasting in handheld mode.
Give up while you still can!
Xenoblade Chronicles X, Definitive Edition. One of them, the White Whale, crash lands on a mysterious alien planet called Nira. You play as a customizable character who wakes up from a life pod with no memories, and you join a paramilitary organization called Blade to help rebuild civilization, explore this enormous alien world, and figure out what's really going on. And Nira is genuinely jaw-dropping. 5 massive biomes, each with their own alien ecosystems, enormous structures, and creatures that range from passive to deadly. The combat is real-time, using arts that recharge as you fight, with positioning and soul voice bonuses tied to syncing with your teammates. The big unlock comes eventually. Skells. Giant transforming mechs you can pilot, fight in, and eventually fly across the entire planet in. The Definitive Edition adds new story content, quality of life improvements, better UI, and makes the whole experience feel polished and approachable.
Some power into this one. Shadow strike.
Octopath Traveler II. The premise is the same. You have 8 characters, each from a different part of the world, each with their own story. And you play through all of them. But this time, the individual stories are more emotionally resonant. The characters actually interact and react to each other. And there's a hidden, overarching narrative connecting everything that only reveals itself once you've seen enough of the world. The 8 protagonists range from a dancer, to a merchant, to a thief, to a scholar, to a hunter. And each one has different day and night path actions abilities to interact with NPCs in unique ways. Some characters can lure NPCs into battle, others bribe them for items, others steal or charm or impersonate. It changes how you approach every town. The combat is turn-based, with a boost and break system. Hit enemy weaknesses to break their guard, then spend boost points to unleash massive, multi-hit or buffed attacks.
What's our plan of attack? I'll run you through!
Dragon Quest XI-S. You are the Luminary, a young man from a small village who discovers he's the reincarnation of a legendary hero. When he reveals this, the kingdom immediately declares him a threat to the world and tries to execute him. From there, it becomes an epic journey to prove who he really is, gather companions, and face the Darkspawn, threatening everything. The story starts warm and adventurous, then takes some genuinely dark and emotionally gut-punching turns in the second act that nobody sees coming. The world is gorgeous, fully 3D, colorful towns, and landscapes full of characters with their own lives and daily routines. The S version on Switch specifically is the Definitive Edition. It includes all story DLC, 2D mode where you can play the entire game in a retro 16-bit style, fully orchestrated music, extra story content for each party member, and Japanese voice acting.
Crikey!
Persona 5 Royal. You play as a high school transfer student who moves to Tokyo after a false criminal charge upended his life. He discovers he has the power to enter the metaverse, a twisted, supernatural realm born from human desires, and forms a group called the Phantom Thieves, who steal the hearts of corrupt adults by infiltrating their palaces, the physical manifestations of their distorted psyches. The story tackles real issues, abuse of power, corrupt authority figures, systemic injustice, and does it with style and emotional depth. Gameplay splits between 2 layers. During the day, you're living as a student, going to class, building friendships called confidants, working part-time jobs, and crafting items. At night, or after school, you're exploring palaces, fighting shadows using your persona, and chasing deadlines. Royal adds a full 3rd semester, new characters, new confidants, and tweaks the balance in ways that make it the superior version.
Persona.
15 RPGs that prove the Nintendo Switch is genuinely one of the best platforms for the genre. Whether you're into JRPGs, open-world adventures, or brutal tactical games, there's something here for everyone. Drop your favorite in the comments and subscribe if you're staying for more.